Welcome to Black Spring on this Monday. Hope everybody's doing well. I thank everybody for joining me on this segment of Black Spring. And this is the brunch stream live, which is quite late, but I decided to make sure I got in today. And if you are just now coming in, if you could hit the like button just for the channelytics, in these times, channelytics matter. And I think they've mattered before, but I think they matter even more so right now, considering everything that's going on. So shout out to everybody that's either stopping by or not sure if you're stopping by, but I just wanted to get into a few things today. For one, after a weekend of a bit of insurgence and appears to be terrorism, a bit of domestic terrorism, it looks like, that's going to be a developing story that we will follow on Black Spring. If you were here last evening, you can see some of the amount of censorship that's going on. Not to mention, of course, the mainstream media is not covering. It's not covering. They're very selective with what they cover these days, to say the least. So before we get started, I'd just like to say again a shout out to everybody that's in the stream or thinking of coming into the stream, or you're not quite decided yet, but maybe you'll give a listen. If it's your first time coming in, happy to have you here just the same. So there's a couple of things I kind of want to talk a little bit about, more of an economic, a little bit of the economics that don't really get discussed, or it kind of falls behind or gets swept under the rug. So I'm going to put a couple of links into the stream. I want to shout out to Derek C. Williams. Derek C. Williams is a great content creator, as well as, of course, he's a very loyal supporter on the Black Spring with Autumn channel. So you might want to check him out, and you will find his link in the stream. And shout out to, I'm not sure, I know it's a Monday, and I know everyone, it's kind of a recovery Monday, if you will. I'm not sure. Hope everybody is well. Hope everybody is safe in all the ways that you might, in every sense of the word, that you are either safe from the weekend, or if you've been affected by the riots and the looting. I hope that you are in a safe place, or that you can see a recovery in your very near future. So shout out again to everybody here. So I'm going to be placing a link into the stream. And as I said before, this will be Derek C. Williams. I always want to shout out my top supporters. So here you will find Derek C. Williams's information in the stream, and you want to go out and check his content, because Derek puts a lot into his content creation, and he is very consistent. I think you'll find a great balance. I think he has a great balance in his content. And thank you so much again, Derek C. Williams. And also shout out to Chrysler Imperial H. Chrysler is also a very loyal supporter. He works very hard during the Black Spring with Autumn live shows, live streams. And I'm also going to be including something else that you want to keep an eye on. Here again, I always refer the channel subscribers or supporters to the community tab, because there you will find the most updates on, you'll find updates, of course, when you're tuned in, but you will find them as they come along. You will find them more regularly or more consistent on the community tab. So there you'll also find a link to, you will find the link to the Patreon page. You might go over and check it out. There's a few things. There's a bit of a, there's a range of options on the page. Of course, there's some exclusive things there. So if you would like to support the channel, you may do so in that way. I'm also happy to have you here as a supporter. So I'm going to put this in the stream for you. So I will begin with the agenda or the presentation for today. It's fairly specific. We will get into some topics related to, of course, the economy and some things here again that are a little bit like not mentioned. They're ignored. Okay. So with that, I will start with, once again, thank everybody for joining me for this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. So, of course, let's get to the, I guess, a bit of the elephant in the room. This weekend we had a very tumultuous and very disturbing case of rioting and looting and outrage. And many people are starting to do something. They're starting to think. And I think one of the most fundamental parts of thinking is asking questions. And some people are still not asking questions. I'm not sure what it's going to take. I'm not sure what it's going to take to bring a little bit more thought to what we're seeing. But today I'd like to start with just a couple of things. Like, I'm starting this out with, what do we have? And this is just from my perspective. I can see we have something, what I'm calling this, and it's been heard before, it's been mentioned before. We have something, a bit of a problem solution or perpetuated, this perpetual problem solution trend going here. And of course, we started out, let's go with where we started. We started with a pandemic. And of course, you know, the measures in place for that, the whole, I'm going to refer to it as a campaign, the flatten the curve kind of campaign. And so we went from that to, so we along with the flatten the curve, you've got this culture of social distancing and essential workers and non-essential workers, like deconstructed. You know, we've changed the game to essential and non-essential, these terms. Okay. And then from there you had the lockdown, and then from there, of course, you had the lockdowns to accommodate the slow the spread or get us on the other side of the curve. And so you had that. And then from there we kind of reached the protest. And of course, from the protest, we were left with riots and looting. So once again, I'd like to thank everybody for joining me on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. If you are just now coming in, if you're not quite in, we're talking about something, a problem solution, a bit of a tactic here. So what do we also have? We had, prior to this pandemic, now I'm going to give you very specific cases. We've had governments, we've had states. I'm going to name two specifically. Of course, there are others, but we have two what I refer as the bookend states of the U.S., the state of California, as well as New York, that had already been pleading for state government intervention into um, their deficits. A bit of some people might refer to it as a bailout during the pandemic. They needed, well, let me restate that. We had during the pandemic, we had state governments pleading for state deficit assistance during the pandemic. But what do we also have? Well, now that the states, that these same states, I'm referring to these two specific states just for now, just for this segment. These same states had the most pleas also for assistance with pandemic and pandemic funding. And now that these states have also suffered or suffering from riots and looting, I mean, how do you rebuild? How do those states rebuild or restore already fractured, if you will, economies, state economies and cities within these states? I mean, will the affected areas look to their cities or states for rebuilding the losses or mitigating their losses? Or will they, of course, look to the government, as they're gonna look to the government, is what I would presume. So we have here again, we had Governor Newsom of California, we had Governor Cuomo. In fact, in this segment, I am mentioning specifically around May 18th-ish, Newsom warned, that's Governor Newsom of California, warned that first responders could be amongst the first ones laid off under budget cuts. So that's his resolve. I mean, that's a warning. You get a warning, and then you get a resolve there in these situations. I just want to double check something here. I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in to this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. Let's see, I'm not sure if it's showing. I'm seeing that I have one person watching, but no one has come in. So I'm not sure. I will say this. If I notice that people, I mean, I know at times people can't exactly come in, or they can't come in and they can't engage. That's fine. But also, I would think that if someone out there is taking issue with something that I say, you might come on and engage and have some form of a conversation, rather than kind of cowardly running around and flagging videos for things that you may not agree with, or someone actually just having a different opinion of you and attempting to shut people down. That's not, that's not the goal of this channel. So it's not, I would think that, you could show a little face and put some teeth behind whatever your point of view is, rather than cowardly kind of running around and flagging or turning videos in or whatever. I'm not sure, but that's a disclaimer. If the shoe fits, wear it. If not, feel free to hang around. So I don't mean to get into those kinds of housekeeping. It's not really a housekeeping thing. It's more of just have some respect for other people's opinions. That's all I ask. That's the same kind of respect that I would show if I went to someone else's channel. So, yeah. So, shout out to those that are, whether you're constructively lurking or whatever you're on about. This is where we are. So I will continue here. So I'm going to continue right here with this particular segment. I've given you two examples of two states that had pleas for government assistance during the pandemic, and I anticipate that they are going to ask for assistance anyway. And I think that that kind of gets lost amongst all the identity, all the other angles or dynamics of all the chaos that's going on. So I'll keep going here. So what this amounts to also is a bit of a strong arming. It's a way of strong arming the government to to get a result, is what it appears to be. And so I get it's effective if that's what the goal was. If the biggest goal is to grab as much funding from the government as possible, then that's more than, I'm sure that's going to be a possibility with all the rioting and the looting going on. So some people might say that, of course, the civic unrest was inevitable, because you've had some governors who have really had horribly draconian measures and curtailing liberties and trampling rights all across the country and other cities, other states. But unfortunately, for the most part, it has been in the blue states. Now, if that hurts you, you need to toughen up a little bit, because that's just what it is. Whether it's by default or however you want to spin it, that's still what it's revealing. It's still revealing a divide, a bit of a political divide, and that's where it is. And this country is very much, it's emotionally divided and it's politically divided. That's just where we are. So I'll continue here. So it's just going to be a matter of, we're getting, I think, the debt going into 2021, the deficit's probably going to be, it's going to be way worse than what they anticipated, I would imagine, because things just keep coming up. And there's just more money being printed, even though, Chairman Powell says, according to Speaker Pelosi, I'm paraphrasing, think big, we can do many things. It's funny how she could say that when the first wave of stimulus rallying started in Congress, they couldn't come up with anything that was fiscally responsible. And of course, I don't think anybody could have anticipated any riots or looting happening, or destruction of cities happening during the pandemic. I don't think anybody could have anticipated that, which I'm going to stay away from the conspiracy theories on it, but I'm just saying, it's always think big, but it's more think big for the special interest and the kickbacks, or I have to say, I won't even say that this is a conspiracy theory, but this is an election year, and of course, many of these congressmen and congresswomen, they need to try to secure their seats however they need to. So you can call that a conspiracy theory if you want, if that gets you through the day. Okay, so, but then here again, you got this whole ideology, or this whole mantra that the government is the answer to all things. The government can do everything. It can make everything right. That seems to be, they can give you rights that you don't have. They can print money until it's not, our money's not, our dollar's not worth anything. That's what it seems. It seems. And even the congressmen on the other side of the aisle, whether it's the left or Democrats, whatever you want to refer to them as, they want to create legislation and they want to print money all the time. I mean, on this channel, we do look at their voting records, and that is how we hold them accountable, but they are not being held accountable. And I think that's why this continues. We have a speaker with an 18% voting record. We have Biden's VPs. What was it? Not Klobuchar, but Warren. They're all in this. They're all in the single low teens, maybe 11%, maybe 17%. I think the other potential might be Kamala Harris. I think she has a 23%. I'm not sure if she's still in the VP shortlist, but I do think that they're going away. They're going further away from Klobuchar due to her handling cases. Of course, as it relates to the late George Floyd situation, that she has not handled many of these cases very well, or she's dodged, she looks for a way out when she's questioned on it. So I think honestly they're going to end up trying to avoid her. But I do believe that the short list, I'm not sure how short it is, because of course we still have to get to November. So I'll continue here. It's like not even they can be prepared for all of the detriment, I think, that kind of comes with some of the records and some of the candidates. But then when you look at it, I mean, is anyone actually surprised, considering that most of the agenda that Biden speaks of, it reflects many of the candidates, that whole assortment of candidates that we saw during the Democratic primaries. I mean, you look at the Andrew Yang, with the universal basic income. That has come, I mean, where have we heard that before? Like right now, they want to pay Americans to stay at home. Imagine that. There's other items that you can reflect on from the stage. They want to create more government programs. It's not, they call it FDR proportions, or how do you want to say? It's alphabet soup, whatever. They want to create more government. And of course, when you hear Speaker Pelosi talking about tracing and more testing, more tracing, and all of their programs, even this, maybe it's the HR 6666 bill. Many of these bills have more. They've made those programs very attractive to churches. They've made them to, there's a certain criteria. You're going to have to be, it's a government program, is basically what it's going to do. It's going to dump a whole lot of money, and it's going to make many of these, I think even the 501c, these NGOs, many of these non-government organizations that are already pretty much loyal to their agenda. Of course, you're creating a program. Is it going to be where I can have a piece of that pie? Of course it is. So there you go. There's another infiltration. There you go. You're going to make people that go to church, especially, like I can say, just for instance, for the black church. Many blacks or African Americans, however you want to, whatever makes you feel good today, they still look to the church for guidance, and unfortunately, the religious guidance has been hitched to political agendas and policies. So I remember looking at the bill. Bobby Rush is a congressman who he's an author of the bill. I'm really getting around what I'm saying, but why not? So when I took a look at the bill, or even if you go on to his page, you can see that this is largely a government program. And it's going to be, who knows, in perpetuity. It's going to, it's just another, it's going to be, to me, tracing, and all of these things are just it's going to be more transparency into the lives of Americans. And all you need, and they know from a cultural standpoint that they can infiltrate if they get into these churches and these ministers, if they co-sign on something, that they're going to go along with it. Now he's denied, I've seen him deny on his own website about some of the pitfalls of it, about the people's concerns, the public opinion about the particular bill. But of course, you guys can go through that yourselves. I won't drag you into that on this segment, because that's not exactly where I was going with it today. So I'd like to thank everybody for joining me on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. So I will continue. So shout out to anybody that's in the stream at this time. But I was just talking about the HR. This is just for anybody that might be tuning in or just coming in or thinking about coming in, if you're lurking around, that the HR 6666, I have to get all those sixes in there, that bill is that's a huge government program. And in fact, it's going to send a lot of money down the pipeline to many non-government organizations, possibly even the schools. There are very specific requirements in that bill. It's pretty general, that it pretty much makes everybody qualify for it. So it's money. Are they going to turn down federal money for hosting, for being a part of a testing unit or a tracking initiative? Or do you think, especially if you're a struggling church or a 501c or nonprofit organization, of course you're going to think, wow, well then that might help my organization a lot, even though it might be in some way, or might eventually violate constitutional right, whether it's a Fourth Amendment or something else. That's what it's about. So, and that's how, and it's interesting to learn about these bills and how they actually infiltrate, how they get into so many cultures, how they get to so many, how they reach people, the reach of some of these bills. Well, all you have to do is wave money at people. And of course, in minority communities that are already economically suppressed, those communities are going to be they're going to be, not only they're going to be complicit, but you're going to have a line of people signing up because they are looking for recovery, some form of recovery. So it's authored, they're attaching Bobby L. Rush's name to this bill. In fact, I said I wasn't going to do this, but I kind of want to give you some specifics because this is a part of literacy, and I don't mind doing the work. I don't mind doing a little bit extra work in these cases. Because, if you go through the bill, of course, but then if you go on to his website, he's answered some questions where people had concerns or saying that, oh, he's heard about this on social media, I heard about that, and he offers an explanation. But the thing about the bills that people don't realize that are being passed right before our eyes or under our noses is that these bills have far-reaching ramifications, whether we can see them right now or not, whether they can see them or not right now. The thing about it is, government is not a imperfect institution. It's not perfect. And I think in a great sense, many people think that, that sounds like a good bill, but they don't read, for one, they don't read the bill, and then they don't ask. If you're not reading the bill, you can't ask any questions about it. And of course, what happens in the long term ends up being more, what happens in the long term ends up being more important than what it was. What do they say? The road of good intentions leads to hell, or some other, undesirable destination. But I can see that. And it also, you're less free when you start relying on the government to give you, oh, you're going to give me a sense of security. Well, they can't. I mean, they can. It'll be a false sense of security. So yeah, I've gone on to that a little bit more than I wanted to. So let me just get back to but the thing about this channel, if I go off on a bit of a tangent, if you will, I hope that it's still going to be something that you can actually work with, that you can look it up for yourself. I'm happy to provide links, or provide policy where I can find where it's needed. So here again, we're talking about strong arming the government, that kind of a bit, and that's what I can see, with people thinking the government has all of the answers. And even in a pandemic, you have people that still believe that. You go into, of course, we've had this weekend of all the rioting and the looting, and we talk about the inequities and the disparities and all of these things. And even the government can't fix all of that. That's just, you want to call this as it's a sentimental kind of belief. I think that people think, oh, well, they said they were going to do this, or, it's kind of like, I don't know, when people talk about the government, sometimes you think about, oh, well, it's like, oh, well, Dad said he was gonna bring that home when he gets off of work, or Mom said she was gonna, when she gets paid, she's gonna get my new backpack. It's not a very informed way to look at things. But I'm more surprised in the ways in which Americans are not curious as to what's going on, why a lot of these things are happening, what's happening in our government, what's the role of the government, what's the role of the people that you call congressman or congresswoman. So I'm going to keep going here, believe it or not. Okay, so then we talked about the theme here. The theme here is problem solution, and we're at a level, we're at a subcategory of the tactics here. We're strong arming the government for what we want. We want more money from the government. We want more money for bailouts. We want more money for our fiscal irresponsibility. We want more money for spending $75 million on illegal immigration to somehow mitigate their response or their status during a pandemic, which that's referring to the state of California is where I am on that. But I'll just keep going here. So problems. We had a problem. It's a pandemic. Okay? So how are we going to mitigate the problem, and how are we going to slow the spread, and how are we going to slow the spread? Notice they said flatten the curve, not eliminate the curve. How are we going to flatten the curve? So they implement the solution. These were solutions, I guess, coming forth from whatever the CDC or the Dr. Birx or Dr. Fauci, those kinds of things. We had lockdowns, and we had, of course, the social distancing, and then of course we somehow got to shutting down the economy. Okay, so those were, I think, but I won't say that the shutdown of the economy was a solution. It was, unfortunately, it was advantageous. I'm not saying that I say that that's the way it should have gone. I'm saying that at the time they thought that the amount of projection and the amount of the numbers that were being put out, they said, okay, we'll shut down. Things will end up getting shut down. And so, of course, that will be up. History will ultimately judge the way that this was handled. All we can see is what we see right now. We see we see what happened, and then what we see is we're still in the middle of it. So, here I try to remain as objective as I can in reviewing the president's actions, the status of the economy, that kind of a bit where we are. So here we are. So we did shut down the economy. Okay, so that ended up being, unfortunately, part of the solution. So, and I paraphrase, that it was reported that the president said that was the most difficult thing that he had to do in this pandemic situation. So there's that. But then we have another thing, of course. I think we have another kind of purported solution that's projecting all the way into our democratic process, which is voting, which mail-in voting is your solution that's been purported. I'm not even, you notice I haven't said which, on this instance I didn't say which side, but unfortunately it comes from the same side. The Democrats are pro mail-in voting. So you've got all kinds of things happening there. There's a plural findings of voter fraud and things all over the country, ballots being found in other states. You can do your own research on that. I invite you to do it. So I will continue here. So there again, there's another solution. So there again, it's for every problem. For just about every problem, the solution somehow is either advantageous or it's related. They end up being related. And the other point is, I'm going to go back to from an economic standpoint for the individual states. Are we also saying that, of course, with all the rioting, the looting, and all of these things going on, we, of course, FEMA, would that be the solution to some of to mitigate some of these things? Is that going to be proposed? Are you going to see more congressional support for a FEMA type initiative, or even, who knows, with the Democrats, they might even create another policy to say, oh, well, this is give us this much money, and will mitigate some of the looting and the rioting. Are you going to see more requests for government funds? Of course you are. And then, of course, there comes the bills and the legislation that will come out of it. So I think this is, here again, what's that saying? Never let a crisis go to waste. Got another crisis. So you got to have a solution for the crisis. So I'd imagine, I'm already seeing, I'm not going to get into this story. There's an exact story that I'd like to go into, but I'll wait. I'm going to do a very specific story on that later. But speaking of that, let's go into a little bit of specifics on some economics here. So this is coming from the part Business Insider and part Fox Business News that I want to provide you with next. So what's being said, okay, according to the Fox Business, we have, hang on, just 1 second here. Sorry for the delay. Oops. A little bit frozen here. I think my mouse is on hiatus. Shout out. Oh, wow, somebody's here. Old School, is that you lurking around? Old School says the Democrats think we can eat candy and poop money. And he also says that they are at least half successful at this. Shout out to you, Old School Wolf. If you are not familiar with Old School Wolf, then I'll take a page out of ABL's book. It's another conservative. He says, I don't know what you're doing. If you don't know who Old School Wolf is, go over and see what he's about. Check out Old School Wolf Media. And I also give Old School Wolf Media, he's shouted out around here on a regular basis. Shout out to the Definition of Anarchy. How are you doing? How are you doing? You know what? Let me just throw this in here. I don't want to get too crazy. And you guys are like, oh, too late. But no, I think I was dealing with some level of censorship. So, if you're out there, YouTube CEOs or whatnot, I mean, people, you're going to get you got a new handle on your brand. It's, people are calling it their tube, So, shout out to you, the Definition of Anarchy. Shout out to you. So, that's good to see you. Good to see you. There's a couple of videos. I'm behind on your videos. You've been really cranking out the content, and I don't know what I've been doing. I've been doing things, but I think you've cranked out quite a few things. I'm trying to catch up. So, but I will catch up. So not to worry. Shout out to the Definition. So what I'm saying is, of course, of course, after the looting and the rioting and these kinds of things, I think there's going to be, of course, the Democrats, they're going to come to the floor with some more things, we need more money, we got to have more money. And, Chairman Powell says, I should think big, just think big, So, yeah, let me get back to let me get back there. So, I said all that to say, of course, you're going to have even more disparities in a situation like this. And I will go ahead and tell you where I'm going with this next is from the economic side of things, according to Fox Business and the insider, the business insiders. They're talking about the economy right now, and lo and behold, here, I'll give you the link and all, but it says Target, CVS, Apple, Walmart are temporarily closed. So there you go. They're offering, these are pretty immediate responses to, what's happening with the rioting and the looting and all, which of course they're going to have a response. They're corporations, they've got employees, and, but I'll bring another faction out of this. It's more of a cultural. There's a social faction that I'm seeing, even with the closures and even with the statements that are being made. So here again, you got, Target and Netflix announced support for the Black Lives Matter movement. Okay, so there I am. I'm getting into social justice. It seems like our corporations are kind of bought and paid for, right? Is that what it looks like? Okay, shout out to you. Shout out to you again, the Definition of Anarchy. And my next one is of a doctor who talks about George Floyd's autopsy. Wow, I think there's more than one autopsy floating around right about now. I'm a little behind. I'm behind on that. So see, hang on just 1 second, and I'm going to be ready for more engagement in just 1 second. I'm going to get this. I'll go ahead and finish that. I'm just recognizing the types of groups that are throwing they're throwing their hat in on the social justice in response to the looting and rioting, right? Okay, I'll keep going here. So then next on the list, we have Apple CEO Tim Cook, who talks about discrimination and trauma. Let me just hold all of that. So you've got all these big, some people, all these big wigs are throwing their 2 cents in and talking about in reference to the black community. Okay. So all of this is just a little bit convenient. It's just a little bit, well, we got to do this and this and this because this, and I'm a CEO of a huge company and I'm throwing my hat into the ring. Why aren't you throwing your hat into the ring for this support? Right? Okay, hang on just one second. Hold on, I'm going to read your comment here. It says, there's one right now. The family just hired an independent autopsy. No other autopsy just yet. Okay. Okay, cool. So hang on just one second. I'll be right back with you. So we've got all these, we've got such a huge partnership of NGOs, it's non-government organizations and private partnerships. And these people think that they speak for the people. That is what my issue is. They do not, Tim Cook does not speak for the black community. Target does not speak for the black community. CVS does not speak for the black community. Where else was I? Walmart does not speak for the black community. How does Walmart know about the trauma? Or what does Tim Cook know about the trauma of the black community? You can say that. You can try to identify with the black community, and you can try to live vicariously. I just, it just seems to, they all take on this, somebody else said a great thing. They talk, these liberal types and progressives, they talk about black people as if you're a pet. Oh, here, let me help you, you little pet, you little whatever. Let me help you. But I'm never going to tell you anything that's really going to benefit you in the long run. Oh yeah, you want to go out and be self-destructive? Go on out there and do destructive things, and do things. And come on, guys, this is the con. This is the part of the con. Okay, I'm gonna keep going. All right, so yeah, so they just keep. All these big corporations have so much concern and can empathize so much with the black community. So I'm going to keep going, believe it or not. And the final part, the final part of that, which you're seeing a mass exodus of families moving out of New York City. Of course, they talked about the wealth gap. And you're saying, I guess maybe this average. See, I'm paraphrasing, and I will give you the links for this stream. This will be one of those streams that I will give you all of those. They talk about, like maybe the median income. I think maybe it's $100,000 a year. And and people, the van lines, the company van lines. They're seeing this. They're seeing people moving out of New York City. It says that, the United Van Lines says that the majority of the residents leaving Manhattan. Let me fact check that. Yeah, this is from the Associated Press. That the United Van Line says that the majority of residents leaving Manhattan earn over $100,000. Well, of course. I'll read a couple of comments here from the definition of anarchy. It says, the leftist elite have the paternalistic mentality in regards to black folks. Yeah, it really is. It's really sick to me. And, yeah, it says, but they never say, nobody, why, if your leaders, if the people you've elected in these places, whether it's Democrat or not, if they're so concerned about you, why don't they don't ever ask you about how you're managing what you have, or what do you have? Do they ever give you any tips on lifting you from where you are, or they just pat you on the head when you see you do wrong? Okay, just keep doing that over there. And I'll give you something else just to keep you going when you come back the next time, okay? I'm just saying, it's... Come on. So I'm going to keep going here. So yeah, you're seeing, this is economically, like, the shift in the economics. But I will say that Target, Netflix, just, you're real. Target, Netflix, and Target and Netflix announced their support. So nobody's surprised, because who else has a partnership with Netflix? Come on, a little time for Q&A on here. Who else is benefiting from Netflix? Everybody's at home, and they've got, I'm sure they've seen a rise. They have seen a rise, and they are going to continue to see a rise as long as these lockdowns are in place. And if there's a chance that these lockdowns continue, they will continue to see the demand for Netflix. People, many people are not doing anything to prepare them beyond this situation. They're watching Netflix. So I'm going to keep going here. So yeah, so I'm just saying, generally, Black Lives Matters, that is another NGO. And who are they funded by? Does anybody ever ask those questions? Who's behind what you support? Where do they get their funding from? So yeah, and I will go ahead and kind of round out. It's pretty much all I wanted to cover on this. It's quite a bit. But what do you think? What do you think so far? So I'll just give my final little tag here. And this is a different format to my live stream, due to, I'm not sure what it's due to, but I'll get into that in just a second. So I'll just go. I'm going to kind of round out for all the specifics that I wanted to discuss on here. So what's the answer? We left off on a bit of a FEMA. Is FEMA the answer to the problem, the solution, or to mitigating some of these issues? Is that what they're going to propose, or is Congress going to write more laws full of pork and identity politics? And are they going to write more in that vein and claim that they're taking all this money and they're doing it for the people, and then the people never do any, the people never advance, or they never come out of these situations? How's that, how's that going to work? And then finally, you might ask, well, how do they convince America, or how do they convince these communities to go along with these things? Well, they do it through rhetoric. They do it through these celebrities. Let me give somebody like John Legend. John Legend might not know anything about economics or poverty, but he's a singer. So they're going to use try to give it some credibility. They try to throw some credibility in there. And then they're going to be emotional. They're going to be emotive and say, well, you've been struggling, and and this pandemic, and they never talk about the pre-existing conditions in the community that are a part of the profile. There's some things genetically in my family. Can the government do a damn thing about what my genetic health disposition is, or was, or what I could potentially develop? Nope. But to many, government's big daddy Warbucks. So they managed to convince a lot of people. And you've got these shows, The View, and you've got all these people with their rhetoric and their gossip, and they can. That's how they get them. So I guess that's where I wanted to go today. I guess that was enough. Shout out to everybody that's in the stream. Appreciate you guys for coming in. I'll just save that for kicks. So let's just save that. Okay. So I'm going to give a few comments here. Old School Wolf Media says the left spent a generation creating the perfect voters and are now reaping the results. It does look that way. It really does. So yeah, so that was generally the guts of what I wanted to go over. But I think as we go into the week and the weeks coming up, sometimes I cringe. It's a big cringe for me to say, oh my gosh, what's next? But it just seems like everything that's happened is very convenient. It's very apropos to something or some faction of these agendas that they've already proposed. And my next video, I kind of want to tag it right now, but I don't. I kind of want to get into it right now, but I don't. If I do it, then that's a whole nother segment. It's a whole nother segment. And it has something to do with reparations. That's all I'll say. That is all I'm going to say. And I will leave that there because I'm not about to get into reparations on this live stream. So, but yeah, so how's everybody doing out there? Shout out to the Definition of Anarchy. Shout out to Old School Wolf Media. Sorry, it always takes me a long time to get such a long name, Old School Wolf Media. You should be more kind with your handle. Shout out to so you guys were the only ones showing your face around here. I appreciate that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop your guys' link. I'm going to do that if that's okay. If you don't want me to drop your link, just put a 1 in there. And I won't do it. Let's see. So, some people have their, they have their specifics on having their links dropped. And so, everybody does things differently, but I'm going to do that. So your support is noted here on Black Screen. So okay, so I'm going to drop this one into the stream. All right, so that one would be Snapzilla Gorillas. That is his, or the definition, that is his link. It's a Monday. Okay, so that's his link. And so I'm going to also drop Old School Wolf into the stream. All right. Okay. All right. So check out if you're looming or lurking around. Go over and check out the Definition of Anarchy, or check out Old School Wolf. Okay, come on. Okay, there you go. So there you have your 2 links in the stream. And so in about 5 minutes, I will end this stream. I may do another stream later, but it will be a late stream if I do it. And it'll be much longer. I'm just reading your I'm going back through you guys' comments right now. I'm going back through the comments. All right, so once again, thanks so much for coming in. Also, take a look at the community tab. It's always good to check out the community tab. There'll be some other things coming up. If anybody has anything else, I'm going to round out this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. Just give me 1 second here. I would like to share something with you before we close out this stream. So you want to put your final comments in about 3 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes. I will close out the screen. Thanks so much, Old School. I appreciate you for coming around, for being around. And so let me get to the next thing that I was going to do. Hold on 1 second. All right, I had everything set up here. Hope everybody's doing well on this Monday. Hope you are doing well. All right, I'm going to fix this up right now. Okay, I'm not seeing that come up, so just give me 1 more minute here. Believe it or not. You know what? That's an excellent point. That's an excellent point, Old School. Yeah, because I will tell you guys, I saw something about, what is it? I won't mention the group's name, but I think I saw a text message, and I'm thinking, unfortunately, that time is right under our noses. I think it's right under our noses. It's pretty crazy, huh? But I think it's going to be, I think, shout out to Old School. I think that's going to be important for the rest of the year. If you're picking up what I'm putting down. So, okay. Get myself back together here. So, hang on 1 second here. Okay. All right, guys. And once again, I want to say a shout out to everyone and thank you for joining me on this segment of Black Spring with autumn. You guys have a great rest of your Monday.